Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Psychology Unit 12, which is all about abnormal psychology. Psychological disorders are characterized by the three Ds, being deviant, distressful, and dysfunctional. Deviant behavior is behavior that is significantly different from societal norms. This would be like hearing voices or having excessive anxiety. Distressful behavior would be suffering or discomfort caused by deviant behavior. This could be like feeling depressed or anxious. And dysfunctional behavior would lead to an impairment of daily functioning, such as like relationships or work. This could be like difficulty concentrating. It's only a psychological disorder if it has all three of the Ds. If it's only deviant and distressful but not dysfunctional, it's not a psychological disorder. The DSM-5 is a manual of mental disorders that is used for classifying psychological disorders. It's on its fifth edition. It's labeled Axis 1 through 5. Each axis has a different category. Axis 1 is clinical disorders. This would be like disorders diagnosed in childhood or substance-related diagnosis. This could be like anxiety or sleep disorders. And Axis 2 is personality disorders or intellectual disabilities. This would be like antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, or OCD. Axis 3 is general medical conditions, which would be like cancer or asthma. Axis 4 is psychosocial and environmental problems. This could be like educational, economic, or housing problems. And Axis 5 is global assessment of functioning. This is like the grade that it gets. It goes from 100 to 10. 100 would be no symptoms, 90 would be minimal symptoms, 80 would be symptoms that are expected reactions, 70 is mild symptoms, 60 is moderate symptoms or moderate difficulty functioning, 50 is serious symptoms, 40 is an impairment in communication and everyday activities, 30 is behaviors influenced by delusions. 20 is some danger in hurting theirself or others. And 10 is serious suicidal acts. Anxiety disorders are characterized by distressing anxiety or maladaptive behaviors that reduce anxiety. Generalized anxiety disorder is when someone is continuously anxious. Two-thirds out of the patients with generalized anxiety disorder are women. People with this disorder are usually very jittery. Panic disorder is sudden episodes of panic. It's in 1 in 75 people, and it's when the anxiety escalates. OCD is unwanted, repetitive thoughts or actions. There are many different types of OCD, but I'm only going to be talking about 4 types, which are contamination, checking, symmetry, and hoarding. Contamination OCD would be like germaphobes. They have a huge fear of germs, and this can lead to like excessive hand washing. Checking OCD is the repetitive checking of things like lights or locks. Sometimes they do this to remember things. Symmetry OCD is arranging items in specific ways until it feels right for them. And hoarding is difficulty getting rid of objects. PTSD is haunting memories, nightmares, and social withdrawal. It's when it lasts 4 or more weeks after a traumatic experience. Phobias are irrational fears and avoidance of a specific object or activity. Dissociative disorders are the conscious awareness becomes separated from previous memories, thoughts, and feelings. Dissociative identity disorder is when there's a presence of 2 or more personality states that control a person's behavior. Dissociative fugue is the loss of memory and identity. It's when there's nothing left of the original person. Some mood disorders, they're characterized by persistent changes in mood that affect a person's daily life. Mood disorders run in families. Major depressive disorder is persistent feelings of sadness and loneliness, also loss of interest in everyday activities that one may have found pleasurable. It's when it's 2 or more weeks of depressed moods. Bipolar disorder is extreme depression to extreme mania. Mania is a hyperactive, wildly optimistic state, so the opposite of depression. Schizophrenia. Some symptoms of schizophrenia are disorganized thinking, delusions, hallucinations, word salad, which is jumbled and like mixture of words that don't really make sense when they're put together, and inappropriate emotions. Schizophrenia is also genetic, just like mood disorders. There are three types of schizophrenia: paranoid, disorganized, and catatonic. Paranoid schizophrenia is the persistent delusions or hallucinations. This is probably the most well known schizophrenia. When people hear that word, they most likely think of delusions and hallucinations. Disorganized schizophrenia is like back to the word salad, where the things they say don't really make sense to anybody. And catatonic schizophrenia is the inability to excessive agitation. One of the most famous people with schizophrenia is mathematician John Nash. There was a movie made about him called A Beautiful Mind, and it just goes over his entire story dealing with schizophrenia and how he found out he had it. Personality disorders are organized into three different groups: cluster A, B, and C. Cluster A is odd thoughts or behaviors. Disorders in cluster A would be paranoid personality disorder, schizoid personality disorder. Cluster B is dramatic and emotional behavior. This would be like borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, which is like extreme self love, and antisocial personality disorder, which is when a person has a lack of conscience for wrongdoing. Most serial killers have antisocial personality disorder because they don't feel any remorse for their victims, which is why they continue to do it. And cluster C is anxious and fearful behavior, which would be avoidant personality disorder or dependent personality disorder. That's it for Unit 12 about abnormal psychology. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more.